Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. My name is Matthew. A very happy belated New Year to you all. We are back again with Beyond the Lines. It's the show where we get an opposition supporters' view when it comes to previewing Newcastle's next game. And just 2 weeks after crashing out the cup, we are back at the Emirates. Yes, boys and girls, it's the Matthew Debuchy derby. We have got Arsenal away, and to help me preview this game, I've got a massive Arsenal supporter with me today. It's the beautiful, it's the brilliant, it's Kibla. How are you doing, mate?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Very, very good. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of Monday night's game, we'll talk a little bit about Arsenal. It's been an interesting season for you guys. You sit 11th in the Premier League, but still in the Europa League, and you're through to the next round of the FA Cup after knocking out a very, very resolute and an organised team, someone else's words, not mine, in the last round. How have you found this season so far?
I mean, look, a lot of fans, the opinion is divided, but a lot of fans will either say, oh, we're not doing too well. But given the changes that we've gone through with a new manager coming in, the fact that we haven't been what we're expected to be over the last couple of seasons, there was always going to be some pain this season whilst Arteta embeds himself and obviously puts his stamp on the team. I mean, everybody will say that we needed, I think, at least 3 or 4 transfer windows for him to try and get it. But, you know, in the world that we live in, everyone wants results yesterday, and no one wants to look at kind of the future of the club. But, I mean, if you asked me this 4 games ago, yeah, I would have said, well, we were looking at relegation scrap. But things seem to have turned the tide a little bit, but we'll see. I mean, you saw the 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace the other day, so kind of brought us back down to earth to say, well, actually, we're not where we need to be.
So, I mean, the next question was going to be, of course, about the manager. He's a slick character. He's a sexy character, but it's not a beauty pageant. You know, the results business. He's a polarising character when it comes to Arsenal fans, it would seem, from me outside looking in. You know, a lot of people still want to give him time. Others, I've seen very extreme opinions of wanting him gone. Do you still think he's the man to take you forward?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few issues where you just kind of wonder, well, what the hell is going on in his head? I mean, the whole defender issue. We had that. We have, well, surplus of defenders. Certain defenders he's put in, certain defenders he hasn't put in. A lot of people didn't really understand his reasoning behind that. I think there's more behind the scenes in relation to that, but I don't quite look into it. Obviously, we know that we were missing that number 10, creativity. We found that we were a little bit more solid at the back. We obviously knew we had the firepower, but there was nothing connecting the two. So we knew what was going. Well, everybody and their grandma knew what we needed, but it was just a problem. I think there's a little bit of what's the right word to use here? He's very dogmatic. I think in his approach, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. But I think there's some realization probably set in there a couple of games ago that actually I need to revert back to what I was doing last season. Yeah. And try to do something a little bit different, because the team sadly isn't where it needs to be in terms of the quality to do what he wants to do. But I certainly think we need to give somebody the time in order to try and put their stamp on the team and try and see where we go. All this chopping and changes as we've seen with Manchester United was ridiculous. You know, how many seasons has it been? They've changed so many times, and with all the changes, we know stability brings success. If I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you ever want to change managers, I mean, I know a pretty good manager who might be becoming, you know, free soon. You know, he's a lover of bacon. You know, he plays false tens. That's very continental, and he thinks outside the box, literally, because we don't get in the opposition box ever. So, you know, you never know. I mean, we get told Bruce is doing a great job, mate. You might want to do a little swap. I'd be up for that. But I mean, I would say that he's doing an okay job. I mean, like you said, patience very much is key. He needs to put his own stamp on the team. There has been some pretty rough results, like you say, but in the last 4 games, you seem to have pulled yourselves together a little bit. Granted, there was that 0-0 draw with Palace, but with it being a rough season, there has been still some shining lights from the outside looking in. First and foremost, Bukayo Saka. He's been fantastic pretty much every game I've watched him play. Been gotten with the England squad. Is he been a plus up for you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I can't even state it enough. Even if you're saying that from looking from the outside, I mean, Saka has just been a breath of fresh air. He brings drive, he brings determination, he runs more than anybody else. The kid has obviously got masses and masses of quality in terms of his delivery, how he tries to run at defenders, and the fact that he's also a bit of a utility man because he can play on the right, he can play on the left. We've seen him drift into the centre. But yeah, Saka has just been one of those ones where when it's a dark day, you kind of look at him and try to find some positives in the team.
Yeah, I mean, he is very versatile. His versatility is a huge factor, and he plays well in most of his positions as well. I mean, I don't want to see him playing full-back for England too much. I'd rather see him further up the field, making things happen. But one more player, I mean, he's had his injury problems, and we do love an Emile on this show. We do miss you, Emile, if you're watching. But Emile Smith-Rowe, he's came into the team and looked really good. I mean, you've been missing that sort of number 10, that pass for the ball in the final third. There is a certain Mr. Ozil not waiting in the wings, lurking until he's let go. But what have you made of Emile Smith-Rowe so far since he's coming back into the team?
I mean, again, I think as somebody who's supported the club for the amount of time I have, you kind of see the youngsters because a lot of us guys pre-pandemic used to go down to the under-23s, under-21s to have a look because and you sometimes used to get to see some of the major stars, but you see some of the youngsters coming through. And Emile Smith-Rowe is one of those ones who's earmarked. Everybody kind of saw his quality, but a lot of the time, as we see with a lot of Premier League sides, the youngsters don't usually get a chance to shine and to put their mark on a team simply because there's obviously established stars in there. But Emile Smith-Rowe is, again, like you said, is somebody that we needed. He's always playing on the half turn. So if you watch some of our games, it's almost like backs to goal. We get the ball, very, very pedestrian, play it to the left, play it to the right, no connection. But, with this kid, it's take it, turn, try to connect it with the forwards. But he's, again, the last couple of games he's come in and he's just proven he's a quality player. Clearly still young, still learning his trade.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much he can sustain it. We saw in the last game, he's not the finished article, but certainly it's something that as Arsenal supporters, we've been really, really happy with.
Yeah, I mean, he showed his quality with the finish against Newcastle.
Yeah.
He can't. I mean, it was sod's law. As soon as that red card was rightly rescinded, as soon as that was rescinded, as soon as it was rightly rescinded, I said straight away, and no prizes for me, but I said, well, there's your match winner right there. The guy who's going to stay on the pitch, rightly so, but and he goes and gets the goal, and it was a good finish as well. And he has seemed to have taken his chance with both hands after his injury troubles. Before we get into the game on Monday, I do like to sort of ask about past meetings and results that sometimes flag in your head when it comes to, particularly at the Emirates. Is there any that really come to mind when it comes to Newcastle visiting you guys?
One in particular, because I was at the stadium at the time. Several years, going back several years. 2012, 7-3.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah, it was a great feeling. Yeah,
it was a great game, even for somebody who's neutral. But it was a time when Theo Walcott was on top form. I mean, you had Demba Ba, who I love as a player, by the way.
Fantastic player.
Amazing, and I still remember it was around that time that he hit that fabulous winner against Chelsea from the side. But yeah, that sticks to memory only because of the amount of goals, and of course it was quite a high scoreline.
Yeah, you might be getting your Cissé's and your bars mixed up there, mate. Cissé was the one who hit the one from Chelsea. But Demba Ba was fantastic, and they were both a strike force to be reckoned with. So I'll forgive you for that one. I remember that game. He scored two that game, Demba Ba, the 7-3. We were in it up until about the 69th minute, 3-3, and then we decided to shit the bed in the most glorious of ways, which we were known for doing under Alan Pardew. Another one I remember is the only win I think we've got. Our record, I was looking over it before we came online, is absolutely shocking when it comes to Arsenal. And if my maths are correct, we've had 2 wins in the last 24 league meetings with you guys and 2 draws, and the rest have been losses. So we've only won at the Emirates once, and it was a 1-0 Andy Carroll in the season we just came up under Chris Hughton. And that's all I remember. The rest of them are just 2-0, 1-0, 2-0, 3-1s. And sorry?
What year was that?
That was 2010. 2010. We just came up under Chris Hughton. Andy Carroll just got into the team after playing well in the Championship the season before. long ball in, header over Flappy Hansky, as I like to call him. That was a very Thomas Muller joke, that. Headed straight over. And I remember Niall Ranger breaking in on goal, and Koscielny, I think, got sent off that day. But yeah, other than that, nothing to shout about from a Newcastle perspective. So, I mean, if history goes with the way it's been going, it's probably going to be an Arsenal result on Monday. But as we get into Monday, I just want to start things, Kibla, with a quote from Steve Bruce. It's something that he said in a press conference recently. So he was talking about the Sheffield United game this week gone, and he said, "We were absolutely frigging hopeless the other night. Absolutely shite we were. I've let them, the players, be comfortable, but the gloves are off now. I'm going to do it my way." So after hearing that quote, Kibla, how scared are you for Monday night? Because, I mean, it's the Steve Bruce way now. I mean, we don't know what we were doing the last 18 months, but this is the Steve Bruce way. Come on. You've got to be scared of that. That's fighting talk.
Am I being honest here?
Yeah, go for it. Honesty is best policy.
Not scared at all.
Yeah, probably not, yeah. That's the right answer.
I always find Steve Bruce as one of the most nicest managers in the league.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on previous podcasts. When he first came in, he's never been anyone's first choice. The majority of the Newcastle fan base have made that clear. His track record speaks for itself. However, in post-match and pre-match comments, he's always seemed like this guy who's just a nice, canny lad. He's trying his best. He obviously said he's a Newcastle supporter. But recently, some of his comments post-match and pre-match have just really annoyed the fan base. The excuses he's made, the lack of letting journalists ask him the tough questions, and I think he's just lost the plot now. To say that he hasn't been doing things his way for the first 18 months when he's been telling us that it's a work in progress is crazy. But you might have caught Newcastle a bit this season, mate. We're not the most exciting team to watch. What are your predictions for Monday night?
Predictions. I'd see something very similar to what we saw at the FA Cup. So a 1-0 or 2-1.
1-0 or 2-1. I mean, would you think he'll change the team up at all? Any sort of change in the approach? I know there was a few changes made in the FA Cup game. The likes of Lacazette stayed on the bench. Has he been playing Lacazette and Aubameyang together much this season?
He played them. He played them in the last game. I think what it is, he's rotating those strikers based upon who's behind. I mean, what you saw massively, which is absolutely ridiculous, by the way, how we missed the left back. So the absence of Kieran Tierney in the last game. I mean, you never speak about a club or a football team where you don't have a left back and then all of a sudden you play shit. So missed him massively on the left because he does the overlap runs, his deliveries, his energy. But I certainly think it'll be a similar setup. I think Partey will probably come back in. He played half game at Palace. I think he has to play Smith Rowe, Saka. The two I'm really disappointed with, and I think I speak for all Arsenal fans, is Pepe and Willian. Absolute fucking shite. I mean, can you imagine 72 million? I mean, I take the point we paid in installments, which is the Arsenal way because we're fucking so cheap. But 72 million for him. Willian, yes, we get him on a free, but obviously you're paying him exceptional wages, and for them to come in and be overshone by the youngsters in terms of what they're doing in terms of shots, goals, assists. It's just disgusting. I mean, I don't know whether it's something within the training, and they're told, because Pepe started off really well, really going at players, and then all of a sudden he starts doing this thing where he kind of moves to the left foot. He kind of like does this, and then he falls over, or the ball goes, and it's just so depressing.
Or he's sticking a nut on a player as well. I saw that against Leeds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you've got that. We've got our disciplinary record hasn't been the greatest, which I don't really mind, to be honest. But it is. I do mind it when it's for petulant stuff. But going back to the old days where with the Vieiras and people like that, if you're showing general aggression, Vieira, Keogh, and all that kind of stuff, we don't mind that as a club. But petulant stuff like that, and it's not even actually. It wasn't even a real headbutt. If you're going to headbutt him properly. That's
what we always say, yeah. If you're going to just rub your forehead against someone's nose, there's no real point because they're going to go down and it's VAR, you're going to be off. If there was, to give Newcastle supporters watching any shred of hope, if there was something that you would say that is Arsenal's particular weakness, not to say that we would exploit it, or even if we told Steve Bruce it 10 million times he'd tried to, what would you say is Arsenal's sort of weaknesses?
Well, I think we're susceptible to the counter when we press, and the other thing is as much as our defense has improved, Andy Carroll has always been a thorn in our side, whether it's been for Newcastle, whether it's been for West Ham. I mean, I've always disliked him for that reason, not because of the player, but because he's always played so well against us. So let's be realistic here. In the FA Cup, that chance that fell to him, if you put that away,
which one though? I mean, he had two glaring opportunities.
Well, the one where he was onside, where it came in, it was crossed, and then he inexplicably put it past the post.
Yeah.
So if you had scored that, I mean, we're always likely to concede. So I think even if you played the way you played in the FA Cup, it was a 50-50 game. I mean, obviously there was some differences right at the end about taking chances, but if you guys take your chances and you play to your strengths with Carroll and so on, I think there's every chance that you could pull one over us.
I mean, it's a strange one. I mean, Carroll started and he did have probably his best game since coming back to Newcastle. He's been injured all the time. That's typical Andy Carroll, but he did put himself about, but at the end of the day, you buy strikers to put the ball in the back of the net, and for him to have two glaring opportunities. The second one was a good Leno save right at the death of the 90 minutes. I think Callum Wilson's on the end of that. He's scoring one of those two. But it all depends. I think he will possibly start Wilson, but then again, Steve Bruce, he's starting to really surprise us with these lineups now, starting to talk about false 10s, playing wingers and central midfielders as false 10s, asking wingers who haven't played for ages to be defenders. And, he is really starting to even make the most optimistic Newcastle fans scratch their heads. So we will see. I'm not holding out hope because of the historic record we have against you guys. But you've already said it, mate, but if you have to nail down one score prediction, what are you saying?
2-1.
2-1 win. I mean, I would take a feisty 2-1 defeat at this moment in time without getting smashed, But I think if I'm going to be super optimistic, we could get that 0-0 again, 1 point, get in. But that's what Steve Bruce has done. He's poured cold water on any sort of optimism. But again, I'm not an idiot. He is symptomatic of the way the club is run at the moment. So I'm not going to blame it all on Steve Bruce. But in the meantime, mate, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you, mate. I would wish you luck for Monday night, but I would be lying. But chances are, next time we speak, you've probably got 3 more points on the board, but hopefully I am wrong. But to all of you watching, thank you very, very much. Please like the video. Please share the video. If you haven't already, please go back and watch the new Extra Time, the new and improved Extra Time with Jess and our new recruit, Laura. It's a great video, and it's going to be great to have them in weeks and months to come. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel, and thank you very much for watching.